Tax evasion is an illegal act that involves deliberate deception that can lead to severe penalties, including fines, imprisonment, and damage to reputation. Tax avoidance, on the other hand, is a legal practice that utilizes legitimate strategies within the tax code to minimize tax obligations. The Federal Inland Revenue Services (FRS) conduct rigorous investigations that could lead to guilty parties paying evaded taxes and penalties, including fines and asset forfeiture. Section 40 of the Federal Inland Revenue Services Act 2007 states that tax evaders face criminal charges, are liable to pay the withheld tax and 10% penalty per annum. The impact of tax avoidance is more complex as it can stimulate investment as well as erode government revenue when practiced excessively. To ensure the development of the grassroots economy, the importance of addressing tax evasion and tax avoidance issues in Nigeria cannot be overemphasized. Hence, our focus on the Eagle today is on EFCC's fight against tax fraud. My name is Aisha Muhammad. Welcome to the Eagle.
We are going to tackle financial crimes problems in Nigeria with a human face and a heart of lion.
Executive Chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC), Ola Olukoyede, has called for stronger purpose and efficiency as measures to tackle economic and financial crimes and other acts of corruption. He made this call in Abuja at the opening ceremony of a session of a management retreat of officers of the EFCC themed Repositioning EFCC for Greater Efficiency. Abbas Abubakar Umar tells us more.
The EFCC chairman, Ola Olukoyede, stressed that the fight against corruption needs to be fought with vigor, tenacity of purpose, clear focus, doggedness, and efficiency in order to achieve optimal results. He stated that the success in the fight against corruption will be determined by genuineness, efficiency, and the need for higher productivity. Olukoyede argued that with the right attitude, determination, and willingness to change, the fight against corruption will yield good results. He charged officers of the EFCC to be ready to make more sacrifices and add more value to the work of tackling corruption. The EFCC boss acknowledged the efforts of every officer of the commission, pointing out that there is no doubt in the fact that when you speak of MDAs in Nigeria, EFCC is one of the best. He charged officers not to rest on their oars but to adhere to his three-pronged agenda that had been robustly presented to Nigerians. He reiterated the need to respect the rule of law, maintaining that getting results is good, but the way you get them is more important.
The essence of retreat is for us to review what we have done over the period, to look at our shortcomings, so-called failures, examine our successes, and to see how we can improve on them. There's no doubt in the fact that when you speak of MDAs in Nigeria, probably before you count three, EFCC's name must be mentioned.
In his presentation, a former acting director general of the Department of State Security (DSS), Matthew Sayefa, noted that the mandate of the EFCC was capable of reinventing the tone of governance of Nigeria because the work of EFCC is more than a duty but a mission. He applauded the successes recorded since Olukoyede assumed office, describing his leadership of the commission as knowledge-driven. Seyefa warned that an uncertain economy is the worst insecurity in any nation and charged other agencies in Nigeria to collaborate more with the EFCC to improve security situation across the country because the criticality of the work of the EFCC is geared towards reinventing the tone of governance in the country. In other words, if the EFCC succeeds in its work, it will result in the positive outcome in the developmental indices nationwide and hence engender salutary outcome in the security environment. The management retreat convened for top officers of the Commission ended on Sunday, March 10, 2024.
The Special Advisor to the President on Political Matters in the Office of the Vice President, Hakim Baba Ahmed, has commended the Executive Chairman of the EFCC, Ola Olukoyede, on his steady reform in the Commission in spite of attendant challenges. He gave this commendation at the EFCC Management Retreat while making a presentation themed Making a Success of the Anti-Corruption War in the Face of Daunting Challenges. Again, Abbas Abubakar Umar has the report.
The Presidential Aide on Political Matters in the Office of the Vice President, Hakim Baba Ahmed, admitted that the weak and disjointed value system in the country has made it easy for corruption to strive, but commended Olukoyede for making impact in spite of all the handicaps. He called on anti-corruption agencies to collaborate more and build stronger energy and synergy against corrupt practices, stressing that enhanced public awareness will do more in tackling the menace of economic and financial crimes. Baba Ahmed also stressed the need for public ownership of the fight against corruption, maintaining that Olukoyede's leadership of the EFCC will do the nation greater good. He specifically called for the establishment of special courts to deal with corruption cases to enhance accelerated resolution of cases and help the Commission achieve its mandate.
If we cannot defeat corruption, this country is finished. If you think country is an abstract form, think of your children, think of their children, think of their future, but you are in the front line. You are the people we are looking up to see if you can fix this country.
In his response, Olukoyede appreciated Baba Ahmed for the advice and encouragement, stating that with the support of everyone, EFCC will succeed no matter what the challenge may be.
People like you behind us, if they are persecuting us, go there and tell them, don't persecute these people. I know what they are doing. I've come to address them and they are doing the right thing. We will support you. When you see judges doing the wrong thing, take them up. People like you, talk to them. Some of them are your friends. Tell them, this thing is not about anything. There's no personal interest. It's about building this nation, leaving a legacy for our children. So, sir, we agree. We want all of us to agree in this room. This is the way to go. And as long as we see you behind us, we are ready to succeed and we will succeed.
Abbas Abubakar Umar reporting for the Eagle.
President of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, NIPR, Ike Neliako, commended the Executive Chairman of the EFCC, Ola Olukoyede, on his focus and determination to tackle economic and financial crimes and other acts of corruption. He gave the commendation in Abuja when he led other council members of the institute on a courtesy visit to the Commission's headquarters. Chinonso Alexander Eni tells us more.
The president of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, NIPR, Ike Neliako, said the EFCC's chairman has been focused on dealing with corrupt practices since assuming office, thereby reviving the hopes of Nigerians for economic development. He stated that at the governing council level, the NIPR has taken time to follow the activities of the EFCC and monitor their programs, and from their observation, the commission is much focused. Neliako also commended the EFCC chairman and the commission on complying with its act in the appointment of public relation experts to manage the information architecture of the commission. He sought the partnership and support of the EFCC in the execution of NIPR's impending programs, especially the National Spokesperson Summit, Nigerian Reputation Fair, Nigerian School of Public Relations, Anti-Corruption and Consumer Protection Hub, among others.
Every nation that develops has a strategic plan of action to manage the reputation of the nation. That's why the worst nations are still celebrated, because they have a way of managing themselves. In spite of all the atrocities going on, the picture you see out there are different from what happens. But our own, before anything happens, is already in the marketplace. And I say it again, it's not that we don't have our challenges. We do. But we need to begin to manage our reputation in a better way. Reputational assets is the first asset any international investor that is credible would consider before he comes to invest.
Responding, Olukoyede appreciated the institute and assured the president of more collaborative engagement with the Apex Public Relations body. He called for greater efforts towards public awareness and sensitization concerning the menace of corruption, maintaining that publicity and collective responsibility are crucial to achieve success in the anti-corruption fight.
Let us work together. Let's see how we can salvage this country. I mean, for once. For once. Nobody beats America. Americans beat America for themselves. Europeans beat Europe. Nobody will come and build this place for us. And like you said, our major problem is corruption.
Olukoyede stated that the mandate of the EFCC is to fight economic and financial crimes, and there is no way the Commission will be successful in this fight without public engagement. He stressed that the fight against corruption is achievable, especially with the passion and political will of President Bola Tinubu. The NIPR president was accompanied on the visit by General Sani Usman Kukashika, Chief Uzoma Onyegbaduwe, Hamed Sajo, Chinwe Obuka, Tiwalade Fakmonde, Aisha Gambari, and Stanley Ogadigbo. I am Chinonso Alexander Ene, reporting for The Eagle.
Rhymes, yeah. Whoa, corruption must to decrease. It's a canker-worm disease. When our people go live in peace, when all this nyama go cease, I can look back when I
see. Now here they work, and I here at the chop. Sometimes this my work, it is very tough, and things go just wrong. But that one don't mean say I go put my hand inside bad things now. I know say if I put my mind to do this work well, I know say I go make am. I don't need put my hand inside bad things. I be mechanical, I dey hustle, and I dey legit.
Ni mai sai da kifi ne, ina jajircewa akan nema, ina sana'ata na gaskiya.
I be a stylist, mo hustle, mo dey legit.
I'm selling phone accessory, I dey hustle, and I dey legit.
I'm a sound engineer, I dey hustle and I dey legit.
I'm a tailor, I dey hustle and I dey legit.
I'm a barber, I dey hustle and I dey legit.
I'm a painter, I dey hustle, I dey legit.
I'm a fashion designer, I dey hustle and I dey legit.
Be proud of your hustle, be legit, say no to cybercrime.
This message is from the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC.
Taxes and tax systems are fundamental components of government revenue generation. Tax evasion reduces revenue for the government, affects the synergy between the government and the public, influences more people to evade their taxes, leads to economic instability and less growth. The taxman acknowledged the roles of FRRS and EFCC in ensuring fiscal stability and combating financial crimes in Nigeria. The existing working relationship between the two agencies has helped in improving tax compliance levels in the country. We all know that tax evasion and tax fraud are illegal, and that's why we are focusing on it on the interview segment. Golden Onwara, what do you have for us today?
Yes, Aisha, today we are talking about tax fraud. Income tax remains a major revenue earner for the government. It is a great boost for economic growth as funds realized from it are channeled into development purposes like the provision of infrastructures and other social amenities. Unfortunately, many people in private and public sectors devise ways of evading or avoiding tax, thereby denying the government funds. Because this is an economic crime which should be confronted, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, together with the Federal Inland Revenue Services of Nigeria, FIRS, are continuously collaborating to put a stop or totally eradicate this criminal act. Today, I have with me CSE Pinda Mbursa Kwajafa. He is from the tax fraud section of the EFCC. He's here to talk about how the EFCC has been fighting tax fraud and their experience. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
All right, today we are talking about tax fraud and the EFCC's experience. What exactly is tax fraud?
Before we go define what tax fraud is, I think it's ideal we do explain or define what tax is. Now, tax is a levy, compulsory levy being imposed by the government to enable the government carry on its projects. Now, tax fraud can easily be defined as illegal act of deliberately falsifying information or withholding relevant information in tax returns. This is done to avoid paying the right amount owed the government.
So how is tax fraud perpetrated?
Well, tax fraud being perpetrated in a very complicated and complex ways. And one is by underreporting income. Now, this is usually being done when you hide certain income, whether you receive. Either it could be additional income and all not, just to be sure to make it possible that government does not see or you under-declare. Then another one is overstating deduction. This is usually being perpetrated by companies. They do it in such a way that you claim expenses that are either not inexistent nor eligible in order to reduce taxable income. We have other, like people do open offshore accounts, utilizing offshore accounts or entities to hide income or assets from tax authorities. Usually it's been done in jurisdictions, with strict banking secrecy laws. Even when you request for those statements and all that, you're not being given. So they see it as, we call it tax havens. And we have identity theft. People steal people's identity just to claim, refunds illegal.
You made mention of bankers or the bank withholding some, tax-related information. So now let's find out who are involved in this crime.
Well, tax fraud is being perpetrated, as I rightly said, by individuals, businesses, corporate bodies, even professionals. Most of them are honest, but there are some that do assist their clients to falsify documents. Okay,
now I have a question. I don't know whether it is personal, but I'm sure that a lot of people would like to know this. When an individual that has a company, decides to receive inflow using their personal account instead of their company accounts, does that count as, tax fraud as well?
Sure, it is. That is tax fraud. Now, they usually do that. You see companies or company owners preferring to use their own individuals so that they will be able to hide those transactions, those sophisticated transactions from the tax authorities. So it is part of tax fraud.
So how does this fraud affect the economy?
Well, it does in a lot of ways. Now, government depends on the revenue it generates. First and foremost, if people do commit tax fraud, government will not be able to fund its projects, which is key. Because without doing that, there will be issues of abandoned projects, there will be issues of insecurity. The government will not be able to maintain peace and order. So, there is a great problem. Then apart from that, the government will not be able to take responsibility or taking care of the most vulnerable in the society, and which is key, like social schemes, social security schemes. And now that there are a lot of issues everywhere, so that is also important.
There any interagency collaboration, between the EFCC and other agencies to fight this crime?
Well, our collaboration with the tax authorities has been fantastic. We have been collaborating with the Federal Inland Revenue Services and that of the State Revenue Services. And as we can see, it's glaring that the revenue that these agencies have been generating has been growing higher. And there are other parts that to solidify our understanding for better working condition.
When you talk about crime, when you talk about fraud, there's always a punishment or penalty. So in this case, what is the penalty for someone who is found culpable of this crime?
Well, the guilty party pays the evaded taxes and penalties, including fines and sometimes even asset forfeiture. But we need to look at what law regulates that or prescribes those punishment. So we'll be looking at the Federal Inland Revenue Act of 2007, which states clearly that any person obliged to deduct any tax, and to pay to the services, to the servicers, FRS, and does not do that within 30 working days, commits an offense. And the punishment is that when upon conviction, he's to pay what was withheld with a penalty of 10%, and at the same time, he could go for imprisonment of not more than 3 years.
Thank you very much, CSE Pinda Mbusa Kwajafa, for coming on the program. But before we go, what is your advice to the Nigerian public?
Well, for looking at what we need to look at where we are now and where we need to go. Well, if we look at the infrastructural deficit of Nigeria, we have a deficit of $3 trillion. And the World Bank projected that if we want to meet up with that infrastructural deficit, we need to be paying like 100 to 150 billion. We need to be using like 100 to 150 billion dollars on infrastructure for a period of 30 years. So the question is, you, the man in the mirror, are you playing your own role to ensure that this infrastructural deficit has been met? So please, that's my candid advice for Nigerians.
If you are a good citizen, epitomized with patriotic passion for the good of the nation, you must pay your full due of income tax. This is not only to help government provide adequate amenities for the citizens, it is also your civic duty, which will in turn impact on the general well-being of the nation. It is equally important that you see non-payment or avoidance of income tax as a criminal act which can land one into prison. So, be warned. That's all from the interview segment. I am Golden Onwura. Back to you, Aisha, for the rest of the program.
The effect of tax evasion has a negative and significant impact on the growth of the Nigerian economy. It lowers government revenue and leads to low employment rate in Nigeria. Let's all be patriotic citizens. Let's pay our taxes at the time due. It is the right thing to do and the way for us to develop our nation. That's how we end today's episode of The Eagle. Until we come your way again, keep sending in your messages, enquiries and suggestions to info@efcc.gov.ng. You can also call us on 0809 3322 644. Don't forget to use the EFCC mobile app, the Eagle Eye, to report any fraud you see happening around you. You download the app, you follow the steps and report fraud on the go. And you can also take pictures of corrupt practices and upload them. Also remember to join us every Wednesday evening at 6 p.m. on our web-based town hall meeting called EFCC Connect, where we answer your questions and note your observations of the anti-corruption fight in order to serve you better. And also listen to EFCC Radio 97.3 FM, the voices against economic and financial crimes. I am Aisha Muhammad, leaving you with this parting words that says, greed is not a financial issue. Greed is a bottomless pit which exhausts the person in an endless effort to satisfy the need without ever reaching satisfaction. There is a sufficiency in the world for man's need, but not for man's greed. We are in danger of destroying ourselves by our greed. So let's all be content and join hands to make Nigeria a better place. Never let greed guide you. Goodbye. God bless Nigeria. Please do stay safe, be kind to yourself and to others around you, and do enjoy the rest of the week.